is all the news all the time, and my name is Adam. Yeah, it is. And it's lovely to have you back watching these videos. Really kind of you. And today we're looking at some interesting stuff. As you can see, we had a little look at woke and what is woke, and is it the active engagement and highlighting issues of race and social justice from a politically liberal perspective, but doing so in a way that values ideological adherence above all things, thus promoting intolerance of differing opinions. This is what wokery seems to be. And we've got the BBC, that bastion of Britishness, guilty of rewriting British history to promote a woke agenda in biased documentaries. I mean, this is the BBC. It's trying to rewrite British history to promote woketivism. Jesus Christ, what is going on? BBC, an organisation which never knowingly misses an opportunity to put Britain down as much as it possibly can, for some reason. Who knows why? Don't know. But the broadcaster is failing in its duty of impartiality by allowing politically motivated campaigners, there he is, to present shows, say leading academics. What is going on with the BBC? As always, the BBC is rewriting British history to promote a woke agenda. A group of the country's leading academics has warned, as they cited multiple examples of bias in its documentaries. A report said the BBC was failing in its duty of impartiality by allowing politically motivated campaigners to present tendacious views of British history as fact. This word is a bit complicated. It means biased. Lord Roberts, the author and broadcaster, accused the BBC of pursuing a fatwa against Sir Winston Churchill. The dossier said documentaries on subjects including slavery, colonialism and the Irish famine distort the truth about Britain's past through inaccuracy or omitting important facts, so they can push their own agenda. Mary Cawthor Dowder, a lecturer at Oxford University, said the BBC needs to stop apologising for Britain's history. Jeremy Black, the former professor of history at Exeter University, said the BBC was guilty of systemic failure through an inability to present a rounded picture of the past. The report was compiled by History Reclaimed, whose co-authors are David Abulafia and Robert Toombs, both of whom are professors emeritus at Cambridge University. Supporters of the organisation include Lord Chartres, the former Bishop of London, Vernon Bogdanor, Professor of Government at King's College London, Neil Ferguson, the broadcaster and fellow at Stanford University, and Lawrence Goldman, Emeritus Fellow at St Peter's College, Oxford. A mid-term review of the BBC's Royal Charter, launched by the then Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries earlier this year, is currently examining whether the corporation needs to be reformed to help it achieve greater impartiality. No one believes the BBC is impartial anymore. Nobody. Everyone believes it's constantly pushing an anti-British message at all times, and it's people are just getting annoyed with it, getting the whole system while paying for this organisation to smear Britain. It's just insane. It's been taken over by the left, and they're pushing this left-wing woke ideology endlessly. What else are they saying about this? The authors of the report, titled "Can We Trust the BBC? No. With Our History? No," called on the BBC to tighten its editorial guidelines and set up an advisory panel of historians to reduce the groupthink among programme makers. I mean, that's what needs to be done, but even that will get taken over as they bring more people in, and no one can stop them in pushing their left-wing anti-British ideology. Programmes highlighted in the dossier included the misadventures of Romesh Ranganathan, in which the comedian, that's being generous, visits Freetown in Sierra Leone. Freetown, interesting name, Sierra Leone, and discusses Britain's role in the slave trade without mentioning that the city, Freetown, so called because it was the destination of freed slaves, was set up by the British. You don't mention that, no. Why would you mention such a thing? You can only mention stuff that puts Britain down. A current affairs programme suggested the Bengal famine of 43 was a consequence of racism on the part of Churchill, despite the fact that Britain sent large shipments of food to the Indian region in the face of wartime food shortages. Lord Roberts described it as an example of a fatwa. He says the BBC has been conducting against Churchill for years, while Zarir Masani, a historian of Indian heritage, said he was appalled by the BBC's claims. This is just this endless pushing of the same thing, this endless pushing of an anti-British ideology constantly. But it's by the BBC, which makes it so ironic. It makes it So bizarre that the British Broadcasting Corporation, paid for by the British people, spends all of its time and effort and money smearing and putting down Britain. It just seems so bizarre. And meanwhile, an episode of the archaeology series Digging for Britain aired a claim that British policy during the 19th century Irish potato famine amounted to the extermination of a people, and that aid was refused even though Prime Minister Robert Peel ordered the purchase of American maize to feed 500,000 people in Ireland and ruined his career by suspending the corn laws to allow untaxed imports. But you don't mention any of this. You just want to push your ideology at all times. And it's endlessly like this. It just goes on and on and on every single day, in every single program, constantly pushing an anti-British agenda. And people are just sick of it to a point where they don't want to pay the licence fee for the BBC. They want the licence cancelled. They want the BBC defunded. The whole thing is just wokery collapsing at every moment. See, the problem with the BBC is it doesn't have to worry about ratings. It's paid for by a licence, paid by everyone in the UK who has to pay it, irregardless of whether they use it or not. And so they don't worry about ratings. They don't worry about adverts. They don't have adverts. They don't worry about anything. All they worry about is pushing their left-wing ideology constantly. God, they drive me crazy, these people. Moving on, let's have a little look, see what else is going on. And more people who drive me crazy. It's she is Meghan, professional Mona Markle. There she is. There's Elon. There's Donald Trump. Don't know who she is. And is that Yeezy? Yeezy, there he is. It's been a good run for narcissists. That's right. And this is Politico. Yeah, this is the left-wing website, Politico. And they've had enough of the professionally offended. Over the past decade or so, a mix of shameless self-aggrandizement and self-confident charm has served certain people extraordinarily well. It seems the left wing have finally had enough of Meghan, the professionally offended Markle, as they're saying here. Over the past decade or so, a mix of shameless self-aggrandizement and self-confident charm has served certain people extraordinarily well, turning them into venture capital darlings, licensed merchandise magnates, Forbes cover models, social media superstars, Oprah confessors, confessing to nothing, business conference keynoters, new money plutocrats, and in one case president. So you got Elon Musk, Sam Bankman-Fried, the old cheesy Yeezy, Elizabeth Holmes, Meghan Markle and Donald Trump. All of them used attention as currency and ego as fuel and were rewarded for a time with what they craved. We're drawn to people who love themselves, and they do. They love themselves so much. But somewhere between the 5th and 6th hour of Harry and Meghan's pity party, the new Netflix documentary series produced by the former Duke and Duchess of Sussex and filmed at their California mansion. I think they're still Duke and Duchess of Sussex, even though they constantly sneer at the royal family. But anyway, which suggests that there is no one more in love, no one more socially conscious, no one more holier than thou, no one more aggrieved. My natural sympathy for the couple started turning to irritation. Mine started ages ago. And it occurred to me that ego has its limit, and it struck me that the overreach which led to the Sussexes' critically panned mega series is the same impulse that turned Elon Musk into a terror on Twitter and prompted a Yeezy to up the ante of outrageous behaviour until he crossed the line into blatant anti-Semitism and sent Bankman-Fried from the top of the world to the Bahamian jail in the Bahamas. I mean, even that sounds good. Jail in the Bahamas sounds good. It's probably not, but it sounds good to me. So people are sick of it. They're basically says John, he's a smart guy from Ripon College, and people are just sick of it because we're sick of this. We're sick of this generally. Crying about how hard done by they are in their $20,000 dress in their mansions and palaces because someone said boo to a goose, and we've had enough. So shut it, basically. Shut it. What else is going on? I was looking at Reddit today, and there was some things. I was looking on the funny section, and they were saying this guy's playing chess in VR. Let's have a look. This is how chess goes in the VR world. Let's see how. Oh, he's dropped some wine already. Let's. What's he going to go with? Is he going to? I don't think you can move that. That's the queen, isn't it? Well, dude, no. No. Well, that's chess for you in VR. Bought this vertical mouse. My team is making fun of me. It's what is that? That's not a mouse. What's going on here? Imagine being in line at Starbucks, glancing up to misunderstand what was taking place. Local bookstore. Okay, so you got no dancing around like Belle in the bookstore, if you would. So that, I think something must have happened where people have done this and they've had to put a sign up and said, "Quit it, quit it, you." And what's going on here? Printed these labels to keep my kids away from my treats. Works like a charm. Vegan, it would keep me away as well, because nobody wants that. Sorry, no, it's a joint photographic experts group, PH, not P, so it's pronounced JFEG, not JPEG. Joint photographic. Oh yeah, JPEG. So it's not called JFEG. Helen opens up an entirely new front in the GIF war. I don't know about that. We're getting problems there. Getting too frisky with the wife. This is my bed for the next 2 weeks. Is that a car jack? That's a car jack. I mean, you've got to give props to the guy. He's obviously putting the time and the effort in. I mean, I don't know if the wife's grateful or not, but you know, at least he's not missionary position in the dark. Maybe I need to lay off the holiday treats, go to the gym. Let's have a little look. Oh, what we got here? Ah, yeah, I see glass scales. As you can imagine, they do what glass does. And see, that's always my. I've got a glass table. This thing is a glass table. It still worries me. Every time I put anything on this table, I'm thinking, ooh, even though I know the breaking load or strain is huge, it's a glass table. We all know what happens to glass. It does that. So, yeah, very, very sketchy indeed.